You mentioned, or I mentioned, but you talked about a little bit mentoring groups and stuff that you've had in your past. Can you talk about the role of mentoring others in your cybersecurity career? Did you have mentors in your life, and do you have mentees that you sort of pay it forward with now?
Yeah, that's effectively it. And that also kind of captures why as well. I'm a firm believer in paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, I've had mentors and actually understood and deliberately accessed the power of mentorship since pretty early on in my career. I don't know. I think, sat down, had a conversation with someone at some point, and it just clicked that this was a really important thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a feature of my own personal growth. And ultimately, it just feels right to pay it forward. Like at this point in time, going through like creating a venture-backed startup, creating a category, seeing those things grow, going from CEO to chairman, like all of these different kind of aspects of my career, they're not things that everyone necessarily gets the opportunity to do. And I'm humbled by that. So, the logical kind of thing to do at that point is to find ways to pay it forward to other people that might want to do the same thing.
Right. Now, do you have sort of like a formal, like sort of mentoring group either at your company, or do you work with or do you literally just sort of like contact people, or someone contacts you and then you sort of take them on, and then that was how you did it? Or?
Usually people reach. So in terms of me being the mentor, people usually reach out and we just sort of figure out how it works and go from there. Yep. Within the company, we do have like an established basically mentor matching program, and that's for all of the executives, not just myself. Right. And for the team as well. And it actually works. I think mentorship works best in both directions, right?
Yes.
Because there's folk that I'll end up talking to that are 10 or 20 years younger than me. I'm learning as much from them and their connection with how things have evolved and changed as they're learning from my experience. So if you can set it up in ways where it's bi-directional and not just the old guy telling stories.
That's what I was going to ask. Can you give some advice in terms of maybe not etiquette, but a way of making it a two-way street especially for younger people? I think there's that feeling of either like, I don't feel like I could necessarily, what can I tell them that they don't already know? Or you're sort of still young and inexperienced. And so you're like, yeah, thanks for the advice. And then you just you don't sort of like pay it back in return and so forth. So
I think everyone, this is kind of a core principle of mine is, you can learn something from anyone.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's not you knows something that you don't know that's potentially helpful.
Right.
So, and I also, pretty deeply understand the imposter syndrome that can come with going out and asking people to have these sorts of conversations.
Sure.
Probably the piece of advice I'd give for folk looking at it from the younger end of things is just to, like, what's the worst that can happen? People say no, right? Mm-hmm. That was a really good piece of advice given to me by a mentor on how to pursue mentors, which is like, now we've got this like recursive loop happening here. But it was really, this idea of just, being bold enough to go out and actually say, hey, like, can we grab a cup of coffee? I've got some really dumb questions that I want to ask you.
Yes.
But I'd love to be able to, get a little bit of your time. Like, here's how I think I might be able to help you in return. If you're not interested in that, that's fine. But you can see that I'm trying to give value back, not just take it from you.
Okay.
I think that's a really important aspect of it. But also to recognize the fact that, like, people that have done stuff, people that have achieved things, they actually want to pay it forward. Mm-hmm. There's, what I've observed is there's a pretty common sense of that desire to give back and help people grow their own thing across, most folk that have achieved, crazy outcomes. Just knowing that, and in the process, they're going to ask you things that help them stay relevant and help them stay connected to like the state of the art. Right. From your perspective.
Yeah. I could keep talking about mentor.
It's a dense subject, but I think it's a dense subject.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. And I hope folks are taking notes, because I think those are some really great points. I'm excited to announce that our Infosec skills platform will be releasing a new challenge every month with 3 hands-on labs to put your cyber skills to the test. Each month, you'll build new skills ranging from secure coding to penetration testing to advanced persistent threats and everything in between. Plus, we're giving away more than $1,000 worth of prizes each month. Go to infosecinstitute.com/challenge and start your challenge right now.